As Pulaski students were supposed to be celebrating homecoming weekend, they're instead worried about the conditions of their peers, burned in what has been described as a bonfire explosion.
Shock. They're just in shock about what's transpired.
Jen Zeke says her nephew Brandon was at the fire on Cedar Drive. She says he was among those hospitalized for severe burns. She started a GoFundMe to raise support. In a press release, Shawano County Detective Craig Rakoski wrote an accelerant was applied to the fire, causing the fire to expand out of control. Several individuals suffered burn injuries requiring medical attention. The release didn't specify the accelerant. Zeke says Brandon explained the cause.
He looked over and he saw two kids with a gas can, and before he could say, hey, they threw it into the fire and it blew up. So it was basically like a bomb.
As news spread, many in the community started expressing concern on social media, including Abby Huntley of Oak Ridge Counseling and Consulting.
Whatever they're experiencing is completely normal, whether they're in shock or they are crying and upset and sad, angry, whatever it is.
Huntley says it's a traumatic moment that's deeply affected the community. She hopes people understand that and seek help as needed.
The best thing to do is to talk to somebody, reaching out to a professional, somebody who's trained in trauma and grief to be able to help support and process all those thoughts and feelings before it gets too overwhelming.
The district still put on its homecoming dance while providing counseling services at the high school the night after the fire. Both Huntley and Zeke say they're encouraged by the community response.
This is one of those opportunities that let's take it, let's not judge, let's not finger point, let's just all be there to support each other. And through that, the community can get through it together.
Words can't express how grateful we are that people are doing this and the support that's behind it. It's incredible.
No official numbers were reported by the sheriff's department, but Zeke says Brandon told her about 30 people were burned.
This is what's left after a bonfire explosion sent at least 17 current and former Pulaski High School students to the hospital. The Shawano County Sheriff's Office says it believes a 55-gallon drum barrel was rolled into the bonfire.
We do not believe it was full, but it had some type of diesel fuel mixture in this drum container.
The kids drove themselves to the hospital and did not call 911. Lieutenant Chris Madel says that's why they're urging people to come forward on Wednesday. He says no one will get underage drinking citations.
4 to 9 at Pulaski Police Department. We'll have detectives there from our office there to meet with victims.
Why is it so important for these kids and these families to potentially show up on Wednesday and give more information?
Just so we can get our facts all aligned. Obviously, anything when it comes to law enforcement, anything police related, we have to figure out what happened from A to Z, and the only way we can figure out is by getting statements, putting all the pieces together.
Investigators now have a timeline for what happened last Friday night when at least 17 teenagers suffered burn injuries from a bonfire explosion.
We can only work as fast as the information we get.
The new information comes after sheriff's officials put out a plea for witnesses to come forward. The new details on the investigation top tonight's Fox 11 News at 9. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. The Shawano County Sheriff's Department says it is aware of about 60 people who were at that bonfire. However, it says only about a third of them, 20, have provided written statements or verbal statements. Fox 11's Ben Krumholtz pieces together the information obtained so far in this Fox 11 follow-up.
Investigators say the gathering behind a Town of Maple Grove home started at about 6 o'clock last Friday night. Almost 5 hours later, between 10:50 and 10:55, is when they say a 55-gallon drum container was rolled into the bonfire, causing an explosion.
But it had some type of diesel fuel mixture in this drum container.
That was Lieutenant Chris Madel in a Monday interview with Fox 11. Shawano County Sheriff's officials now say the container was about a quarter full. Brandon Brechkuski's aunt says he told her the container was thrown in without any time for him to try to stop it.
They threw it into the fire and it blew up. So it was basically like a bomb.
People who suffered burn injuries were taken to Green Bay hospitals by other people at the party. The Shawano County Sheriff's Office says no one called 911, and it didn't find out about the incident until 1:10, more than 2 hours after the explosion.
Green Bay PD made us aware of the incident and contacted our sheriff's office, where we kind of took it over from there.
Since then, the sheriff's department has been asking witnesses to come forward, assuring them no one will be issued a citation for underage drinking.
The homeowner where this happened has been cooperating with us. People that were there are cooperating with us. We're not really getting resistance in that fact. It's just getting everyone together and figuring out who was there.
While authorities still wait for other partygoers to come forward, there has been no shortage of community support for those impacted.
We need everybody, and it just gets us through a little bit more.
3 teens from the Pulaski area, Brandon Burchkuski, Isaac Nelson, and Benjamin Van Asten, remain in the burn unit at a Milwaukee hospital. And according to their verified GoFundMe pages, all 3 are expected to be there for a few weeks. Investigators say 4 people remain hospitalized with burn injuries. Authorities continue to meet with victims and witnesses and have received more information about the explosion. They add when they finish the investigation, they'll release as much information as possible. The Pulaski community is continuing its support of the teens who were burned in that horrific incident. Fox 11's Brady Meyer has more on this most recent event.
Over 560 signs were made to spread love throughout a community still reeling from a recent tragedy.
It's everything. Everyone's trying to find ways to donate money to those families that really, really need it.
In one of just a number of different fundraisers, these signs are being sold for $20 each, with all proceeds going to the victims and their families. Ashwaubenon sign shop Elevate 97 was responsible for the printing and distribution of the signs on Friday. Account coordinator Brittany Pieper says she wasn't the one who came up with the idea, but she was responsible for making it happen.
Someone had reached out to me asking if we could make yard signs. I didn't see a lot of interest in it. No one was piping up saying, hey, I can do it. And I figured we've done plenty of these. This is something we can do in our spare time on the fly. And so I reached out and said, yeah, we'll gladly do it.
Pulaski resident Gordy Black was among the hundreds who expressed their interest on Facebook. Black bought 2 signs and left an additional $10 to be donated to the fund.
We are part of the community. I mean, there's 4,000 of us here. And quite frankly, it's home, and you want to take care of your family.
The money being collected from the sign sale will go to an account Fox Cities Community Bank created. Black says it means a lot to do anything to help.
We're not going to fix it, but we want to make it as tolerable as we possibly can.
Pieper says even after the current inventory runs out, she's happy to make more signs if demand is still high.
If you want one, we'll take names down, we'll make more, we'll do what we got to do.
Many in the community, including Black, have closely followed the progress of the victims. Some have shared healing stories online.
All the folks who were impacted, we're all praying for them and hoping for good healing. That makes us feel good that our prayers are being answered.
More signs will be made for a benefit in January. In Pulaski, Brady Meyer, Fox 11 News.
Fox 11's Lydia Anderson spoke with Brandon's family members today and provides us a follow-up on his recovery.
Brandon Burchkuski has undergone multiple surgeries and had his breathing and feeding tubes removed. His family says it's progress, but he is still facing challenges.
Just getting up and moving and walking, because the more he does, the more movement with his fingers, the quicker it stretches his skin, and the quicker he's going to heal.
Brandon's aunt Jen Zeke says it helps that he has a great relationship with the nurses and doctors.
We make maple syrup during the spring, and Brandon always comes and helps us, and we took a box of bottles up there, and I says, hey, you know what, hand these out to your nurses and doctors. And as soon as one of them walked in the room, he's like, hey, I got a bottle of maple syrup for you. So he was pretty excited.
Brandon has been receiving lots of cards in the hospital.
He thinks that there's thousands of dollars in donations from people sending cards to him at the hospital.
How does that support help him heal?
Just his mind, his spirits. It keeps his spirits up tremendously. He's such a strong kid, and he's got a great family.
Brandon's family says it hopes to have him home by Thanksgiving.
It's going to be the best Thanksgiving ever.
After he returns home, he will still have to make trips to the Ascension Columbia St. Mary's Regional Burn Center in Milwaukee.
For physical therapy, changing bandages, stuff like that.
They say he's excited to golf and get back into his routine.
He said when he first got to the hospital in Green Bay after it happened, he said, Mom, I can't work. This isn't good. He wants to work.
Zach says he and his brother Josh would take Brandon's place in a minute.
It's crazy. We fight and bicker all the time, but when it comes down to it, we're going to be there for him.
In Pulaski, Lydia Anderson, Fox 11 News.
If you'd like to donate to any of the victims, we have links in this story on fox11online.com.